Alright guys, time to grab it back again today. Hopefully enjoying your Wednesday so far. Well, at least I'm planning to get this video out on Wednesday, but who knows what's going to happen. Maybe something crazy has happened over this evening, which I have to talk about the channel instead and then delay this video. But today, wanted to talk about this 5v5, 4v4 change and Crimsix really and Clayster's thoughts on the matter and why they're not particularly happy with this change. Of course, none of the guys are happy the fact that Clayster has had to be dropped off this organization. Rambo says that at quite some length, of course, in this video. I'll probably share a snippet of maybe at the end, maybe in the middle of the video. Depends how I'm feeling in the post edit. But yeah, absolutely crazy situation we find ourselves in right now. The situation that's gone down over the last couple of days is absolutely remarkable, and Crimsix is not happy by any means. A lot of the owners in the league that supposedly have made this decision to go back to 4v4 with the knowledge that there would be no expansion franchises, putting a lot of people's jobs, of course, at risk for this season and creating absolute chaos within the Call of Duty community, which is not great for a number of the fantastic players that we have in the scene, the likes of Clayster, as we've talked about yesterday especially. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Like if you do, subscribe if you are new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Make sure you don't miss any of the Rostermania updates that are going to be coming out on this channel over the coming weeks and who knows months, right, when things have to be confirmed for the next season. Rambo says this right at the beginning. We then get this from Clayster. Until I see you again. Hook, Crimsix, shot Sypien early with the Fast and Furious thing. I mean, this is it just brought a tear to the eye, to be honest. Hook then says, just to make things clear, I wish I was more outspoken publicly, but honestly, screw it. Just know no one is happy about the situation that they find ourselves in right now. Ain't your fault. It's nobody's fault but the league / my own for not being, a good enough teammate or whatever. Don't be too hard on yourself. And, well, it follows up with the following. With the heaviest hearts, we are forced to let go of an absolute legend. We will be forever proud and grateful. Thank you, Clayster. So Dallas making it quite clear they did not want to get rid of Clayster. They're saying we are forced to get rid of Clayster, saying that they would have preferred, I imagine, it to stay 5v5. And I think that will become clear when we look at Hastro in a second here. Of course, look, if you're Hastro, you have a great 5v5 team. Why would you want to change it to 4v4 when you have one of the best teams in the entire game? But a lot of organizations have been struggling this season financially, especially with the pandemic cutting into play and, well, cutting back some of their cutting back potential revenues from the LAN events that they would have had and didn't get the opportunity to hold. For those reasons and some other reasons, I mean, the pandemic has not been helpful to business all across the world, really, in most of the sectors. They're trying to find ways to cut back on costs. And earlier today, we talked about the Wuskin situation, that potentially the reason why they're not signing them yet is because they want to sign them on a new contract for less money. And I think a lot of players and a lot of organizations are thinking along those veins, and, well, the Dallas Empire are kind of the victim of that, I suppose, with the majority of organizations probably wanting to go down this 4v4 route. Not just because a number of the players were talking about it being better, and maybe we'll do another video on why exactly 4v4 should be better, I think, from a competitive side than 5v5, and as we've seen in past years, so maybe you guys completely disagree on that one. But yeah, from the players' side, I think a lot of players wanted it to go 4v4, but also the organizations, which are, well, obviously have a lot of sway. Some of Clayster's tweets as well that we can look through here were, pretty sad to see. I mean, he had this one, time to do it again. So he shows this team he was with, of course, back in the Advanced Warfare days with replays, JGap, Attach, and Clayster right here. So who knows if that duo kind of comes back, with the FaZe Clan team. I mean, Zuma, Attach, Clayster, Enable, like the old FaZe Clan squad. That could be something to bring back together, and I'm sure Clayster is considering on his plate right now what his options exactly look like. And yeah, just a number of tweets ready from Clayster here. For anyone saying anything about the timing, yes, it does suck for it to be so soon after a huge victory, but I would much rather it be this way. And a few people were talking about that in the comment section of yesterday's video, saying they're like, look, even though they dropped Clayster very quickly, which I was kind of saying makes Clayster feel kind of bad because it seemed like such an easy decision, but then again, it's a great thing for Clayster because it means he can immediately consider his options and communicate with potential teammates and get on rosters early before they start getting locked into place, to be honest, which isn't going to happen much sooner than you think, I would imagine. Given all Clayster's tweets, though, he then does say, I 100% didn't mean for any of my previous tweets to cast any shade or hate onto Hastro. He's working his absolute hardest to get me to a team I want to go to. He's not going to send me somewhere I don't want to go. Lighten up on us all a little bit. It's been a rough 24 hours. And as Hastro says, here's the deal. I'm going to make sure we send Clayster to whatever team he wants. That's all I need to say. So even though technically Clayster is a restricted free agent, I mean, definitely looks like Hastro is going to try and do the best from him. And as Clayster says, I totally understand a numbers/business standpoint, but it feels really cold to me to win a world championship for a team and then have them force my team option on me so they can sell me for a buyout instead of letting me walk for free. I know Hastro doesn't want that, but investors sing. And Hastro did reply to that, saying that, look, they just want to get the return on their investment, which is fair enough, but Clayster clearly kind of frustrated the fact that he's a restricted free agent, and, for all he did for the organization, he's still in the position where another org has to pay a buyout for him. But, it's business at the end of the day, right? If you show loyalty to organizations, this is the kind of stuff that can happen. You can show loyalty to individuals, no problem at all, but an organization is a business at the end of the day. and when you need to be cut, I mean, that's just what's going to happen. That is how cutthroat business can be, especially in the esports realm, to be honest. X then comes out with, yeah, with the force of 5v5 to 4v4, I feel like whoever the odd man out is shouldn't be restricted. I would totally understand if they stayed 5v5 and they wanted to sell you, but you're being penalized for a format restructuring. Super lame. So interesting reply really from Clayster, or from X here to Clayster, saying that, look, if there was this restructuring which is in place, the league should make some sort of rule, which means that players that are forced out because of this can just be unrestricted free agents rather than being restricted. So that's another thing which is unfortunate to consider. And then Crimsix comes out with this thread, which is the main topic of the video. Want to punch a wall right now. Cannot believe our champions of the world vibe was slaughtered in less than 24 hours with one of the worst moments of my career. I hate that owners voted to 4v4 route solely due to the fact that it was cheaper to pay less people. Absolutely pathetic. Some owners voted for it to remain 5v5, supposedly maybe Chicago, but certainly, you know, Hastra and Envy did, and for that I praise you. But to the others who voted 4v4, you ought to be goddamn ashamed of yourselves. 12 players this year are going to lose their livelihood, so your deep pockets could stay a little bit deeper. I, as a player, agree that 4v4 plays better in Call of Duty, but for them to cut 12 spots and no expansion is yet another slap in the face to Call of Duty pro players. The switch should have only been made with expansion teams coming into play, says Crimsix. So very frustrated here. There were some interesting replies to this, especially this one, you know, which Blues points out to me here from Surge Bob, so the Seattle Surge. Not sure who told you there was ever a vote by owners on this, but it never happened. There was never a vote on 4v4 or 5v5 ever. So, you know, who made this decision? This tweet, of course, since been deleted, as tends to be you know, we're pretty accustomed to it in the Call of Duty community right now, so who knows exactly what's going on. But Hastro then comes back with plenty of players asked for it too. Just search Twitter. Wasn't just the owners. So Hastro is saying that, you know, the owners wanted it, but Surge Bob is then saying that, you know, there was no vote for it. So bit of conflicting opinions, I think, here. Of course, our entire team and organization wanted to keep it 5v5. It wasn't us at all. Such is life, man. Such a loss for us and not many others. That is the reality we are in. I know it was both parties, but I've already absolutely roasted those players for it behind the scenes, wanting to make it 4v4. 4v4 with expansion would not have been an issue. Shouldn't have done one, though, without the other. Or, you know, could have just never went 5v5 to begin with. And X was one of the biggest, I suppose, like, opponents back in a couple of years ago of it going 5v5. And so, well, you know, could have just not gone 5v5 to begin with, and none of this would ever have been an issue. And as Hastro then follows up with, okay, now we agree on something here, but, you know, the pandemic happens. Very hard to expand right now. Just to get these expansion deals would have been a difficult task. Trust me, it is a very long process to buy in. So frustration certainly all across the park here, and definitely for a number of the pro players, this is going to be a very difficult few months because there's only 48 starting spots. Clearly, part of this venture was the majority of the professional teams, I imagine, you know, kind of in contradictory to what Surge Bob is saying, but definitely seems to be the implication from Crimsix and Hastro, and also Clayster when he talked about it as a cost-cutting exercise. The fact that a lot of these teams wanted it to go 4v4 so it's easier on their balance sheet, and I can totally understand that, and 4v4 may be better in the long run for Call of Duty, but doing it without the expansion teams puts the livelihood of a number of the professional players at risk, and Crimsix is not happy about that, even though he's still going to be on a starting lineup, and he's probably seen what's happened to Clayster as a result of this, and the absolute chaos that he's been thrust into, and he might potentially replace a player that could have been on a starting lineup in 5v5, or even in 4v4 with 16 teams, but it's not going to happen now as a result of this decision that's being made. So obviously this is an absolute disaster for a number of our fantastic professional players within the Call of Duty League. The question is really, what will they do? Will they go to the amateur scene for one season and try and do the best they can, and will the CDL pile more support into the amateur scene, given there's more like pro players that would have been on starting teams than competing through the amateur side, and will it be run to a higher quality than necessarily it was this season? A lot of the Challengers players talking about lack of support, I suppose, throughout the Modern Warfare season, and if there's a number of pro players also going into the gauntlet, that could be something to consider. Are they going to stick it out for one season and just hope that in 2022 we get the expansion teams we need, and then they can get back to starting lineups? Because, well, it's going to be difficult for them if they cannot maintain their stock very well. If I was a professional player right now in one of these difficult situations, you know, I can't imagine what it's like to experience that, quite frankly. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you next time.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm sure you guys saw this post and whatnot. It's honestly the dumbest thing I think I've ever had to be a part of in my history of competitive life or anything I've done professionally. I mean, we were forced, basically, our hands were tied, and we literally just had to drop a 2-time back-to-back world champion with this fucking 5v5 to 44 shit. And I grasp the mentality behind the decision and whatever competitive integrity that 44 brings and potential spectatorship, viewership, ease, I guess you can say, with what 44 brings. But it honestly pisses me off. And I'm not in any way okay with this right now. And it's going to take me time as much as like Clay's really the one that's getting the kind of the midst of this. And I'm having difficulties dealing with this as well as a human and as a kind of a GM and coach, and just having like, we didn't even get 24 hours to freaking like really celebrate our championship win before really we were put in a situation where we wanted to make the decision early to make sure that whoever the player was in mind to have a chance to really move forward and make the decisions they needed to make to put themselves in a situation to do what they needed to do to be in a position to play again and do well next year, right? So like I can't express how much love I have for Clay. I teamed with the guy for one event back in the day, and I still feel like in the later days of my competitive career, that was like the only mistake I made when I played was to not try and maintain a playing relationship with Clay. He's an extremely competitive person. His leadership in game and even out of game has been like one of the main reasons why we did so well this year and we won champs. And nothing but props to him and Clay. Like, dude, like, you're a fucking awesome human being from top to bottom. I wish nothing but the best for you. And again, like, this sucks for me just as much as it sucks for you in some ways. Obviously, it's not the same, but yeah, dudes, rough day. I mean, we just won a championship, and I feel like we lost somehow. Obviously, it sucks ass. So, but yeah, I love you, man. I wish all the best for you, and I'm sure we'll get to hang some more. I appreciate everything you've done for us, man. Later.